Okay, I think that is starting time. Turn off my little countdown timer. And away we go. So, welcome everyone. Tonight, I think I'm going to start off by detouring a little bit from my normal agenda of material design and take a look at Microsoft's App Center. This last week, they announced preview support for WPF apps, which has really excited me. I've wanted to use AppCenter on my WPF apps for a while, so when I saw the announcement, I was a little giddy to go through and try it out. So I figured tonight I was going to go through and take one of my simple WPF apps and see what it takes to actually link it into AppCenter and get it all up and running. I've used AppCenter for a while, mostly for mobile applications for Android and iOS, and it's worked great. For anyone unfamiliar with AppCenter, you can sort of think of it as a continuous integration build pipeline, release pipeline, crash analytics and diagnostics all kind of rolled into one package, and they've put it together in a way that makes it really, really easy to use. It's not quite as full-featured in that if you want a lot of buttons and levers and settings to change, it's not necessarily going to give you all of that. But what it does give you out of the box, at least on the mobile side, works really well and covers everything most people need. There's a few extensibility points with like pre and post build scripts and that kind of thing, to where if you want to do something fancy with customization, you can. There's API endpoints you can hit to sort of query and extract information if you need to do something a little more advanced there. But for the most part, you just plug it into your app and it works. So for anyone interested in following along, let me switch over here real quick. We are going to start with this very simple WPF app that we had started building several streams ago, just with starting to learn MVVM and WPF. So it's a fairly simple app that doesn't do a whole lot right now. It basically fires up and you can add a transaction and it shows it in a list. But it's perfect in that it's a nice and simple app and should be easy to work with. So the actual announcement, and I'm going to post all of these links in the chat for anybody who wants to follow along, is right there with the AppCenter announcement for WPF and Windows Form support. It is worth noting that these are still in preview, so I'm not entirely sure what limitations we're going to run into with that, if any. I suspect it means they're still testing things out and there may be bugs and issues, but hopefully we run through and figure out what those are. But I'm really anxious to kind of dive in and get going with this. So most of the time when working with AppCenter, it's pretty straightforward to get started. So the page here describes some of the features, and we'll circle back around to this as far as what it actually can do once we get it plugged in. But actually, the getting started is pretty simple and straightforward. If you don't already have an AppCenter account, create one. And then from there, you just follow the SDK instructions. Now, for all of these, the SDK instructions are usually consist of install NuGet package, add line of code to your app, and you're done. And that's about it. So we are going to go through and do this. So prerequisites, we've already got a project targeting .NET Framework. Great. It is worth noting this project is full framework, not .NET Core. Part of the announcement did say that .NET Core 3 for WPF was forthcoming, but is not currently supported. And we don't have any portable libraries that we're using right now, so we're just a straight WPF app. So step 2, create your app in AppCenter. So I already have an account, and let's create an app and see where this goes. So something like simply budget, sounds great. Release type optional. Don't know what that's used for, so we're going to leave it unchecked for the moment. Windows, and we are going for WPF. It is worth noting for anybody who wants to do any sort of release pipelines. I've built several mobile applications using AppCenter. This is absolute gold for working with. Just a simplified process for kicking out builds for my QA teams to be able to test with. and leveraging AppCenter is so much easier than using any of the native app tools like TestFlight and whatnot. So I highly recommend it, especially for people doing mobile development. I will say I haven't ever used it for Mac OS or tvOS, but I can at least tell you for iOS and Android on Xamarin, it works great. So new app. And away we go. Okay, simple and straightforward. So we have a new app. That was easy enough. Add NuGet package, and we are looking for AppCenter Analytics and crashes, and it is worth pointing out that we do need to target a preview release for both of these packages, which is fine. So we are going to go back over to our WPF app here and manage NuGet packages. Let's just see. And again, this sort of process here is very indicative of how easy AppCenter is. I didn't believe it when I first saw it, and then the first time I used it, I was blown away with how simple it was. So if you don't already have it checked, you will need to check this include pre-release checkbox for your NuGets so that you do see the 221 preview show up. I usually, especially on new projects, I like my dependency behavior set to highest. This does assume your old CS proj format, not the new ones. And away we go. So install that guy. And then I believe we want, let's grab the other one real quick. And I want the crashes NuGet package as well. Go NuGet. And then just a reminder for anybody who's been following my stream, there is not going to be a stream for the rest of this month. I am going to be out traveling to Puerto Rico for the next 2 Mondays and won't have access to reasonable enough internet for streaming. So going to take a couple weeks off, but then we'll be back 3 weeks from today going again. So lots of stuff. Great. Install all the packages, please. And for anybody following the material design library, I have been merging as quick as I can pull requests and trying to get as many changes in. So the 3.0 preview NuGet packages are flowing and have lots of changes and bug fixes and improvements in them. The big addition is it now supports .NET Core 3.0. Thank you, Jasper, for all of your work on that. It is important to note that only material design and material design colors NuGet packages are expected to work on .NET Core. The MAApps integration package is not expected to be functional on .NET Core yet. So we do not worry. We are planning on adding support for that. I just didn't want to hold up the preview NuGet packages for .NET Core 3 waiting on that, so I got them shipped quickly. Okay, next NuGet package. And that one, 221 preview release, install NuGet package. Away we go. Great. And accept. Let's see how this guy goes. Because I'm sort of hoping that I can use this to solve kind of one of the big problems that I have is there with a lot of WPF apps, the first question then comes is how do I actually distribute my app? And there's for desktop apps, there's a lot of different solutions for building installers. There's ClickOnce, there's Squirrel, there's Inno, there's Wix. You can actually distribute stuff via the Windows Store if you care to. And so there's all kinds of different choices in trying to figure out, and so I'm very curious as to how this guy plays out. Okay, NuGet package is installed. Okay, open tool, so package manager console, great. Start the SDK, and so we need to add these using statements to our app.xaml. Okay, simple enough. Let's go here and clean up those using statements real quick for me. Great, thank you. And there's those guys. Okay, and AppCenter.start. And so we need, come on Visual Studio, I know, Alt-Tab is hard. There you go. We were squawking at me before. So we need to put this inside of our onStartup method, which we don't currently have at the moment. So override, and come on, there you go. On startup, please. And it didn't specify, so I'm going to assume I can put this anywhere. And then just for the interest of not necessarily exposing my secret to the world for the moment, we're just going to do something a little quick and dirty. Actually, let's just do this. Yeah, we don't have any settings yet. I'll just dump it in settings real quick. We'll just store it in settings for the moment. Not normally what I would recommend, but let's see. So how about AppCenter key? Great. Store that. It's going to be application scoped. And great. So then this becomes settings. Come on. There you go. Default AppCenter key. Okay, and then we need to go and get our key. So I believe it is actually on this page. So real quick, 1 second. Boom. So on the main overview page, I'll just walk you through it. If you scroll down a little ways, it will give you your key as well as the lines of code that you need to add into your app.xaml. So in the interest of not exposing my key to the world, I'm just going to dump it in my settings, and let's go back. There we go. Okay, so added my key to AppCenter key. It's just a GUID. It's pretty simple and straightforward. Let's go back to our directions of what else we need to do. So your onStartup method should look like this. Great. Ours looks very similar to that. Windows Forms, we're a WPF app, don't care. Replace the placeholder with your app secret. And so if you scroll down, and that's all it takes, huh? The above enter shows how to use the start method to include AppCenter Analytics. So let's fire it up and see what happens. Usually there's a small delay in getting the actual analytics sent, but it's fairly intelligent about dealing, or at least, and again, I'm speaking from experience on the Xamarin Mobile side. It's usually fairly intelligent about dealing with network failures, retry, all of that, and you just don't have to worry about it. And your app just carries on. So I'm guessing this AppCenter start call must wire up to the various unhandled exception calls and deal with saving off the crashes in analytics. It is worth noting that a lot of times you do need to like restart the app, because when the app's crashing, it's not always able to ship those logs off, which is why it usually serializes and resends, but we'll see what this guy does. So I'm sort of hoping that if I come back over here, once my app fires up, what I would really love to see, so there's Diagnostics, which is usually errors and crashes and things that you don't want to see, and then Analytics. So I'm kind of hoping that this guy sends up some data and we can actually see. So this app, for those people who may not have seen it before, it really is just a very simple, pops a dialog, adds an item to the list, there's a delete button, there's an add button. It's pretty simple and straightforward. And the enter key clearly is broken because it is not updating on enter, which is not great. And I'm hoping, come on, refresh, show me some data. I want to see something flow through here. I'm wondering if this I'm not entirely sure what I expect for a delay. Let's close and restart the app. In fact, I might even just go through and launch the app without debugging. I'm not sure if it's going to have different behavior with the debugger attached or not. Because unfortunately, this announcement doesn't give us much. While that's firing up, I think what we're going to do is over here, we're just going to go and cause an exception real quick. So on add transaction, blah, blah, blah. So transactions add, throw new exception, sample crash, right? So we're just going to literally bring the app down. No, import type system exception, please. Thank you. Just because I want to see this guy actually work and or not work. Okay, so anything showing up yet? Come on. Come on. Show me something. I know there's a delay, but okay, so let's fire this guy up. Let's see, I'm going to go Control F5 again just to launch this guy without debugging, because I don't want the debugger to actually be a variable in the equation right here. Should be firing up. Let's see. AppCenter's collecting data. I wonder if there's a flush call or something I can manually do to force this thing to sync its data across. Interesting. So there's that. There's distribute. Curious how this works. New release. Ooh. This is kind of cool. Play with this in a moment. So AppX, AppX bundle, upload MSIX, MSIX bundle, zip or MSI. So basically the new style installers or zip or MSI are the choices. Okay. I guess I can get behind that. Might have to build a installer. Okay. So app launches, add something something something, crash. Throw an unhandled exception. Go ahead and crash. I understand. And hopefully next time we launch, we get something. Come on, I want to see some sort of usage or analytics or something to flow up to there. Might have to fire up Fiddler and see what's going on. Come on, AppCenter, you can do this. Come on, show me some data. I really want to just see this thing start working. Let's see if there was anything else that was missing. From here, distribute analytical diagnostic services. Great. It's what I want. I want to see it work. How do I make it go? Okay, well let's just see what else is on this AppCenter. Let's see, configure is enabled async. That might be interesting. Set country code. Set custom properties. Great, so we can send some extra data. Set user ID. We already called start, which is what we were looking for. Get install ID async. Ooh, interesting. I wonder what this returns. I'm guessing the nullable GUID probably returns null if it wasn't actually installed via AppCenter, I would suspect. Log level. Interesting. Let's go verbose. I don't know what you're being set to before, but let's take a look. Let's take a look. See what all kinds of cool stuff on here. So AppCenter. Let's see, configure, set country code. Let's see, I think we can just do something like culture info, current UI culture, isn't it country code? Where is it? It's buried in here somewhere. 3-letter, 2-letter ISO language name. See blank for more information. Sounds like some XML docs are not set correctly, so let's dive in and see if this guy actually has better information on him. See? Aha. So let's take a look at this link real quick and see. I assume this is just the standard docs page. Online ISO standards. Oh, yeah. Yuck. Okay. 2-letter country code. Great, great, great. This just sets the country code. Awesome. So we'll just set that up. Where does one get? I thought this was buried in here. Compare culture types. LCD. I could have sworn that was buried somewhere in the culture info. Maybe I'm just. You know what? We're gonna go with language, 2-letter ISO language name. We're gonna work with that for the moment. Don't know how that's ultimately going to get used. I assume they've got some pretty graphs for showing where your users are coming from. Set log URL, set user ID. So if you've got a predefined user ID, used to communicate with the back end. I don't think we should need to set any of this. Get enabled async. I am just bool is enabled. I do just kind of want to check this real quick and verify that that thing is showing that it's enabled at this point, just to make darn sure I'm not missing anything. It would be really great if I could see crashes or something. I'm wondering if this guy is showing is not configured yet, which would unfortunately make a little bit of sense. Because I do know that there is a delay in getting the information up here, but usually it's not this long. So let's see. So we got this guy fired up. Blah, blah, blah. Whoa. Hold up. Oh, I started without debugging. That's why I didn't hit my breakpoint. Okay, let's try this again. So data point and crash. And then this time let's start with debugging so that we can actually hit our breakpoint. Come on, there you go. Go ahead and crash. Go ahead and crash. Should probably not be drinking coffee at 9:30 at night, but coding's way too much fun, and I definitely love my caffeine. Okay, so what do we got here? Is enabled is true. Great. So I'm guessing you are something like Ian. Yeah, sure. Great. Probably not what you're looking for, and my log level should be verbose. Wonderful. Log something. Wonder if there's something in my output window showing me anything. Apps crashes service started. And queuing event for channel. AppCenter crashes. Processing pending file. So this is what I meant when I said that it a lot of times when a crash occurs, it'll serialize it out and then push it up later. Let's see. So invoke filtering. We'll send logs. Return false or is not implemented. Queuing event for channel crashes, filtering event for channel crashes. Okay, deleting error log. Get error attachments, return null, no additional information will be attached. That's fine. I assume that it sent the error log. So now the big question: why do I not see any more? Okay, learn more. One second. I am going to scroll this guy down just to make sure there's nothing else that I'm missing. You should see one active user in at least one session. Okay. And sorry, I just know that that overview page has my access key printed right on it. Okay, so make sure you have integrated the SDK modules correctly. As far as I know, we have. Make sure your app secret is included along with the start method call. You can copy the exact start code by opening it in the portal and copying it. Great. R should be fine. In the console look, AppCenter SDK configured successfully. Okay. So let's take a look. Do we see that? Not what I wanted. Go away. Do we see AppCenter's configured successfully? Yep, I see that. This verifies. If you want to see the logs that are sent to the back end, change the log level to verbose in your application. Already did that. Make sure your device is online. Well, I'm streaming, so I hope it is. At times, logs may take a few minutes to surface in the portal. Please wait for some time if that's the case. So to check if AppCenter backend received your data, go to the log flow section in the analytics service. Your event should appear once it has been sent. So let's see here. Log flow section in the analytics service. Let's see. Analytics. I know this is supposed to be straightforward and simple, but where is the log flows? I don't see them. Export, webhook, services, data management, none. Okay, well I'm going to give this a moment, and one more bit of sanity just to make sure I am not crazy. I am going to kill and relaunch one more time, and then I'm just going to quickly so I think we can trust that you're running now that we see that. I just quickly want to verify that my key that it's showing there is correct and I haven't typoed something, because that is a very real possibility. We're just going to check here and see. Because this guy should recompile and launch. I'll just verify that this key actually copied in successfully, because that would be a potential point of failure. They did show in their docs having the AppCenter startup call after the base on startup. Okay, that is exactly what we did. So 1 second here, we are just going to check this guy and verify that it really does show the right key. And boy, that certainly looks right. Let's just verify there's not like any weird trailing spaces. Nope. Just verify that that matches what is actually out on my overview page. And let's see here. Then ah ha ha. I am missing a digit somewhere. That will do it. That will do it. Sorry, one moment, guys. I need to... My copy and paste foo has failed me. Let's try this again. Apparently, if you don't copy and paste the correct GUID, it will not do anything. Okay, so there we go. So now the correct GUID I believe, is in my settings. Apparently I had not selected the last digit there. We will fire this guy up. Actually, one second, let me just get this other page off. I apologize for using my secrets page so much. I'm just trying to avoid having to go through and respin a new one. I'm really hoping this works so that I can keep using it. So something like this, go crash. You should go boom. And normally it does not take long. I'm just going to fire the app right back up because I know that a lot of times on those failing crashes it won't be able to send them until next app launch. So let's check this guy here and see how long. Hopefully, come on, show me some data. Show me some data. Just want to see you go. Oh, there we go. Log flow. What do you? I think this guy's just being slow. Try that again. App has relaunched. Should have something now. Or at least should have events, overview, log flow. Come on, show me something. Don't care what. It should be submitted. Let's go back and check our output window. Let's see. And debug output. We should see AppCenter configured successfully. Added channel analytics. Session resume. And queuing event for analytics. Analytics add channel crash is started. So it has at least that information. It doesn't look like it. Ooh, error occurred. Method not found. Ooh. Well, that'll do it. So this is a SQLite call. Looks like it's getting the column name. Execute. Let's see. Generic toList. SQL commands query. So something about getting the data back out. Interesting. So let's fire this guy off. Let him crash again. And then we'll see. Wonder if this is the cause of the next bug. So what's going on? Error occurred. Task run, enter execute. This guy goes down. Okay, let's fire this back up and see if I see that same SQL error again. Sounds like either method missing exception usually means the DLL didn't get copied to the output directory or something. Let's go and take a look. Yeah, SQLite PCL raw. So let's go and look at, don't need that one anymore. Let's take a look at our output directory and just see if the SQLite DLLs are there. SQLite, there, SQLite.net DLL. I'm trying to remember, I thought there was one more that's supposed to show up in here. SQLite.net. So let's take a quick look. I want to pull up this SQLite package because I suspect what's happening is there is a missing DLL or similar in here. So let's take this guy for a quick look because that's probably what's happening. Let's see, NuGet.org. Let's go and look. Because with SQLite, there isn't really a C# version of it. What there is C# wrappers that call into the native DLLs, but that usually means that the native DLLs have to be present. And so the fact that this guy's throwing a method missing seems to indicate to me that either we've got a mismatch in our native DLL or we've got a missing DLL, and I suspect it's probably the latter. Let's see here. .NET, Mono, all kinds of stuff, Windows Phone, provided SQLite to provide platform-independent versions of SQLite. So let's go here and look at the project site real quick. I'm trying to figure out if there is another DLL that I'm supposed to be having on my, that gets output. And the platform dependent. This seems fairly simple and straightforward. Manual, SQL Cipher, thank you. Great. Trying to figure out if there is what is expected to be in here. So let's do, let's see, NuGet Package Explorer. Let's take a look. I'm just trying to make sure that I'm not missing something that's supposed to be here, because the SQLite implementations on the mobile side, both iOS and Android have native support for SQLite, so it's much easier for them to provide implementations and just shell out. I suspect ours is not. So which version did this guy bring in? Let's see. So this guy brought SQLite, raw lib eSQL. So I'm looking for 16258 beta. Let's see. Show all versions. Wow, this is an old version. Okay, let's start with this. Let's just see how many of these. I'm wondering if this is an explicit dependency. I'm wondering if my including all pre-releases and updating is what. So that's material design libraries, but none of you guys show. Interesting. So what do you show for your dependencies? How do we get to the SQLite? AppCenter default doesn't need it. Analytics doesn't need it. Crashes. No? How the heck did we get all the way down to including SQLite? Which one of you guys takes a dependency on it? Maybe I'm. It's the first one we installed, that I'm pretty sure brought it all in. Dependency behavior, grab the highest one. Okay. The dependencies are just Microsoft App Center. I don't know why it's not letting me. NuGet, you are worrying me a little bit. Let's try this again. This should have references to everything that's in here. Okay, the UAP version. Okay, so .NET Framework version 4.5 takes an explicit dependency on SQLite Net PCL 131 or greater. So I'm wondering if maybe we take this guy back to his stable rather than taking his preview package. Let's just run you back. Because in theory, this guy can go all the way back to the 131. Should revert that guy back. Okay. Let's just do a full rebuild here real quick, just to make sure that we're back in the land of the sane and in good states. Because the preview packages here make sense. Preview packages here are fine because I explicitly took those before. At some point we're going to update these guys. But these guys should be fine. So you're now here. You must take a dependency on SQLite PC raw bundle. Green, that guy there. And it uses that to shell out to the various ones, specifically net standard. Okay. You still thinking about launching? Still thinking about it? Rebuild one all. Okay, let's fire this off and see. SQLite.net DLL. Don't recall if that was there previously or not, but I'm thinking that's important. So let's. Missing method invocation. Still throwing that. Trying to decide if I'm chasing a red herring with this or if this is a legit problem here. Crashes service started. Well, I would love to have, so exception thrown, great. Exception occurred in user area, should serialize it. Yep, go ahead and run, go ahead and crash. That's what I'm looking for. Let's just jump back over here. Just gonna verify that I'm not. Come on. Some data, any data. This is very, very disappointing. I am not sure if, yeah, oh, okay, let you keep crashing. Go ahead and go down. And I am just not sure if this is a legitimate problem or not. AppCenter storage adapter, initialize storage. Calls into here, let's see. SQLite async connection, gets one with a lock, executes scalar, because this type of thing could also be an indication of maybe checking for a new database or an empty database. Okay, let's fire this guy back up. Let's try it one more time. Somewhat disappointed here. The next thing we'll try is I'm going to just try zipping this guy up and seeing how the distribution channels work. And then we'll probably call it good on messing around with this. I might have to send some messages and say, I can't make it work. Don't know what I am doing wrong. So let's try here. Something there. Great. Yep, I understand. Breakpoint. Go ahead and crash. Once again, same exception. An error occurred while initializing storage. Okay, just hypothetical. When in doubt, somebody else has probably seen my error before me. WPF, and then something about like that. So I can't imagine I am the first guy to run into this. Activation error occurs. Uh-oh. This may be AppCenter SDKs.net. Boy, that looks remarkably close to what I'm looking for. Let's see, breaking change. Hey. Let's see. So APIs from the AppCenter class can now be consumed except for AppCenter set. Let's see. Just do a search for storage real quick. Let's see. Do not delete Android, iOS. Those are the only storage things down here. Let's see here. This preview adds support. UWP breaking changes. Add support for user identification is not currently supported. Great. So not a lot of information. Let's just take a quick gander at the issues here real quick. Again, I usually try to assume that I am not the first one to run into this problem. So we don't care if it's open or not, I'm just looking for WPF issues. Let's see. Mixed-stack support issue encountered. WinForms needs support, WPF support. And is WPF supported? So I'm guessing most of these probably got closed out with their release saying we now support it. Great. So, yep. So closed as dupe, which I'm guessing one of these is the duplicate issue. Discussion moved offline. Great. Well, here's what we may do right here is I might just commit these settings and push these up, and maybe we'll just log a bug with these guys later and see if I can get any more information as far as what's going on, since I have a small sample app and a nice web stream showing the problems. So I'm going to, I think, stop chasing this guy real quick. Last thing I want to do though is I do want to see what happens if I zip this guy up and then just upload that into the distribution, because I'm curious how it does my app, right? So I've got a zip. Great. Let's look at the distribution channels. So for the mobile side of things, when you go through the distribution, you can make distribution groups. You can push it out. It's really great for internal testing. Like I said, with like QA teams, I've used it a bunch on. Let's go here. Let's say, okay, there, and dive back into my zip file and see what it does. Build version 1.0.0. Great. Send that out. Let's see how this goes, because if this really does in fact make release as simple as creating a zip with all of my stuff, and then I now have a nice distribution method, even if it's only like a handful of users for testing or whatnot, this is awesome. Initial test release. Great. Sounds wonderful. Next. Destinations. Sure, we'll just send it out to the collaborators, which consists currently only of me. Do not notify testers. Distribute. I wonder if this literally just wraps the information here. 1 second, I'm going to grab my email real quick and see what actually comes through. On the mobile side of things, it ends up sending out an email notifying you with a nice download link. Let's see here. Let's see, can I... So we can go through. You end up with, let's go back here, you end up with an email that looks kind of like this. So got a new version, got an email, great. Open the link. And usually, and this is very similar to how the mobile side of things works too. You get an email, you tap on it, you probably have to log into your account that was added to it, and then it fires up, and it gives you a download link, which is great. Zoom this guy in a little bit, and then let's go ahead and download. And I wonder, is this going to just and then Gmail gets angry because I'm downloading a zip file, but that's okay. And so it literally just does a distribution method of, and it looks like it's the exact same contents of my zip. So it is just kind of a loose wrapper and a convenient way of managing zip files. So if you wanted to have your build pipeline go through and compile this and put it into a zip file, this would be a convenient means of distribution. Okay, cool. I can get on board with that. That is kind of nice. So the only other thing I don't see here, distribute diagnostics analytics. So they don't have necessarily the CI system set up for it yet. But they do have distributed diagnostics and analytics, assuming you can get your diagnostics and analytics to actually work, which is interesting. And I'm wondering if maybe I got myself into a bad state somehow with having that wrong GUID in there in the first place. I might spin a brand new app later and just try it, but I won't necessarily bore everyone's time going through that. But if you have your own WPF app and you want to give this a shot, I know the Microsoft guys usually love hearing feedback of people who are trying and testing it, even if it is just a small app. So might be worth playing around and testing it and seeing what you think. If anyone has thoughts on it, I'm always happy to hear them as well. So, okay, with that, I think I'm going to switch gears a little bit and switch back and do a little bit more of the material design side of things. See if we can get a few more issues wrapped up, questions answered. If anyone in the chat has any questions or samples or hot issues that you were hoping to get looked at, feel free to post and let me know. I'm happy if people have like their own pull requests that they were wanting to get reviewed. I am happy to do that. Otherwise, I just kind of go on whatever sounds like fun for me during the night. So I think I was going to back up and start initially going through some of the getter questions and just trying to answer a few of those real quick for people. Let's see here. Is there a way I can I collapse you? That'll work. Okay. So we will back up. So Jerome, I have not had a chance to go back to that PowerShell stuff, but I think it may be somewhat mitigated. I merged the pull request that adds the event for the color picker. So I've been meaning to go back and update it because I think that'll ultimately fix the problem of going through and doing it. So let's see, Laboputer maybe? The question, what is the required .NET Framework version to use material design in WPF? And so let's go and I will show people sort of the easiest way to look that up. Design themes. So this is the base level NuGet package. If you come on, boom, you have to spell it correctly. But if we do and open this guy up, the base level package that is, or the base level support is .NET version 4.5, which I believe that's what the NuGet package supports. I'm somewhat questioning now that I'm seeing that there. I think the actual library targets something newer, and the NuGet package just may not have been updated for it. Let's double check that real quick, because that screams like something that might be a bug that's worth addressing. Come on, GitHub. Let's see. So the minimum .NET framework version. We're going to just double check this because something in the back of my mind is telling me that the library is actually targeting something slightly newer than that. And we will take a look at that. So let's just go down here and I will check the CS proj. So it is worth noting, if anybody is working with this library and you have merged yourself up with the latest master, the project has shifted to requiring Visual Studio 2019 with .NET Core 3 installed to be able to compile from source. Only because to support the new .NET Core stuff, that is going to be a requirement. This does have the added benefit of we're now able to use the new CS proj format, which is great. .NET 4.5, look at that. Let's see, if you want to compile the, let's see, .NET 4.5, if you are using the NuGet package, you want to compile from the source code, it requires VS 2019. Boom. Let's see, and then question on the transitioner assist. I see a lot of these types of questions, and Amro, I don't know if I'm saying that correctly. If you're still in the chat, feel free to correct me. Thank you. Your answer is absolutely correct. For anyone who is interested, these types of things are called attached properties. If you've done much WPF and used like either the doc panel or the grid, you're already familiar with working with these. These are the same types of properties of how you set grid row, grid column, or say your doc inside of a doc panel. Those are attached properties in that the property gets declared on one element, but the actual owner of the property is some other element. So this sort of transitioner assist, this is another attached property, and you can use those in the code behind by simply going to the class that owns the property, and then there's static methods on there for get and set. You do have to pass in your element here as the first value, and then the second one is the value for the disabled transitions property. So simple as that. And then let's see. I think I found the issue. Uninstall and reinstall the NuGet package is. I will double check, Oscar, if you're watching this, just as far as my examples. I think most of them work, but I haven't actually tried them in a clean clone and rerun state. So if there is a problem, but this error is a little unusual. It does sound like perhaps the NuGet restore failed initially, which is why rebuilding would work. So in theory, all of those projects should just work. And then was there some mention of a mass input being added in 2.6, or am I misremembering? So there was mention, I know, in the Gitter chat of a mass text box. Let's see here. Controls EX. So there is a base library that both Material Design and MAApps both pull from. If you look at our packet dependencies, you'll notice that there's a few specific files. We don't actually take a NuGet dependency on this library, but we do download source code out of it and take source level dependencies on it. So there is some stuff in here, and this specifically was the feature that we were looking for. So I was dragging my feet on adding any sort of mass text box into the library because I knew that there was an outstanding pull request for this guy to get merged in here. And now that he has been, I'm thinking we might just pull this in directly and leverage it. Basically, what you end up doing is you create a text box input mask behavior. You can specify an input mask, prompt character. And actually, I think we could probably just leverage this. I'm wondering, there's a fine line between what should be pulled into the library and what should just be punted and pulled in as a separate library. And I'm somewhat tempted to say pull this in as a separate library. Because you'll notice the original author of Material Design in Xaml, James Willock, I think I'm saying that correct. He was one of the original contributors to this library. And then Punker76, he's the current maintainer of MaApps. And then Bastian Smit is the current maintainer. Well, he does a lot of work with Snoop, and then also WPF Fluent Ribbon, I think is what it's called, is his other library. And so all three of these guys are largely the brainchild of this guy. Or I should say it's the brainchild of those three guys, which is great. So there's a bunch of hooks here. I might just grab the link to this here and reply back here. So let's see. I had not in 260. There was an open PR to let's see. Control ZX. Adds in a behavior for it. We could bring it in as a source level dependency, or people can that. The only drawback with source level dependencies is it can lead to conflicts, specifically because if we pull in the source code directly, that's basically the equivalent of file linking, just across repositories, and that can run into problems if somebody's referencing both Material Design and the Controls EX NuGet package, because now you effectively have the exact same code file being brought in both places. And so then you have to disambiguate not just the fully qualified namespace, but you have to specify which assembly version you want to pull from, which can get a little ugly, which is one reason I kind of try to avoid source merging. And if people have strong opinions on whether you would like to see this in the base library versus pulling in a separate NuGet package, I'd love to hear feedback on that. I'd also be curious if anybody is actually using the Controls EX library with Material Design. Again, it would only be a problem for people who are using both of these libraries together. Okay, with that said, I think that at least catches me up on my Gitter chat questions. So let's go back and I think let's take a look at some of these pull requests, because there's a bunch of pull requests out here that are I think very, very close and or ready to be merged. I just need to spend the time to actually go through and dig through them. So if anybody is in the chat and has a pull request that they were hoping to see get reviewed, I'm happy to do it right now. Just post your pull request number in there. Otherwise, I might go through and poke at some of these other ones. So specifically, this pack icon one is, I think, the next one I want to take a look at and a little closer. So I opened this a while back. Was doing some work for those of you who watched the Gitter chat for the Jerome, I think I'm saying his name correctly, and he was doing some WPF work inside of PowerShell. And when loading it in there, you're basically you're loading up the XAML as XML and bringing it in. But it was actually conveniently reproducing some of the issues that people have reported with the XAML designer inside of WPF or inside of Visual Studio when doing WPF. So I went through and ultimately tracked it down to the issue of the pack icon class, once again, is coming out of the controls EX library, but the base class for it was a generic class. And even though we don't use that generic class and we have a derived class, so for example, it used to be pack icon was deriving from this generic class. And so even though in our XAML we don't use the generic class, which WPF can't support, we use something that's actually closed over the generic type, the designer still chokes, which is kind of frustrating. So as a temporary workaround fix, and I shouldn't say temporary, as a potential fix, this base class isn't providing a lot of value as far as what we were getting from it. It provides more value in the controls EX library because there's several other libraries that reference it and then derive from it and specify different enum values. But inside of our library, we only have a single enum value, and taking advantage of that wasn't really adding much to it. Now, this is a breaking change. If somebody was referencing this library and derived from this directly and specified their own enum type because they wanted to roll their own pack icon, which is how like the Ma Apps icon pack NuGet package works, this would certainly break them. However, switching it to a regular control, I believe, gets us a little closer, and I was hoping fix up most of our WPF designer issues. Now, I was a little more hopeful until there was a comment made down here. Boy, I'm not even going to try to pronounce that name. AWS Moloch, I guess, perhaps, commented that he had actually tested this and that there was still an issue coming out of listbox.xaml as far as the designer issues, and it wasn't quite working. So I was going to take a look at this because I would like to try and eliminate as many of these designer issues as possible. I personally don't use the WPF designer, and I know a lot of people who've worked on this library don't either, which is why a lot of times you'll find that bugs tend to creep into this library accidentally in regards to the WPF designer just not working. So with that said, let's. I'm sort of curious to take a look at this guy and see about this. So let's switch repositories real quick. And I absolutely love my Git Kraken. I think it is one of the best Git tools out there. So if anybody is here, shameless plug real quick. If anybody is interested in trying out Git Kraken, I think they let you try it for a week, 2 weeks, something like that. This is my referral link for those people who care. If you're interested in buying it or getting it, I would not mind it. Again, I think it is one of the best tools out there for doing Git interactions. So let's see if we can go through and grab this real quick. Where are we at? This is wrong window. That's back on AppCenter stuff. So fix pack icon. That's where we're going. That's where we're going. So AWS. I don't know if I've got a. Let's just add a remote real quick. I think that's probably the easiest path forward. Oh boy, AWS. Boom. Add a remote. So let's see. We're going to hide some of these in here. I've been going through and merging so many pull requests I've got. Normally I go through and clear out my remotes. Otherwise my Git history tree starts to go crazy. But there is the branch in question. Let's fire this guy up and see what's happening. It is somewhat unfortunate that all of these changes are being driven by the fact that the WPF designer doesn't play nice with the other children. Let's see, material design toolkit. However, this work, doing it via PowerShell, what I used to consider just a WPF designer issue, where I a lot of times would tell people turn the designer off, actually ends up breaking PowerShell to where you're unable to load the XAML at all. So I suspect that's I'm hoping that fixing one problem fixes the other, so that the designer then works a little bit nicer for people, and then ultimately somebody who wants to load the XAML directly with something like PowerShell, or even if you just wanted to load it as an extension in a third-party app, then you run into fewer problems. Because I've seen reports of people building extensions for various libraries where they want to create a WPF window, and loading in our library causes problems. And so I'm hoping this addresses that. If anyone has any insight to, excuse me. If anyone has any insight into what is the subtle difference between running as a WPF app versus just loading in the XAML directly, I would love to hear it. Because at present I am not entirely sure what the difference is and how a WPF app loads the XAML any differently than just loading it directly with the XAML parser. So with that said, let's see here. I'm going to rebuild my project just because changing branches changes all kinds of things, especially stepping back. This is one of the really unfortunate parts, is there's probably going to be a little bit of growing pains since merging in the .NET Core 3 stuff, because all the CS projects changed, and so I've been having to fix pull requests that were made on older commits, and so we're targeting the older CS projects, which is a little bit of a problem, but it was something that I knew was coming, and I figured now is as good a time as any to try and start addressing those. Hopefully it becomes less and less of a problem over time, but it was one of those sort of bigger refactors that we just needed to bite off, which is also why I wanted to get it merged in and then get back to the MA apps integration package separately, knowing that that support can come a little bit later. So rebuild. My all kinds broken again. Come on. You can do a Visual Studio, I promise. Oh, is this gonna, oh, I have a hunch I already know what's, I have a feeling this is gonna come as no shock with, let's see. Let's see, bring you over here while you're figuring yourself out. I suspect the issue is going to be needing to run a packet restore. I suspect this will be the problem. Please make demo app startup location to center of screen. Oh, okay. That is a simple change. I'm actually not that protective over the demo app, since it's just designed to really show off everything that's in the library. So I usually try to tell people, feel free to copy out of it, but be aware that it's not necessarily a best practices type example, because it is really designed as showing off all the material design controls and everything the library can do, and you probably don't ever want everything it can do. So we can certainly, I probably don't want to change it right now since I just switched to this other branch, but that would be a quick and easy change to throw in real fast. Because it should be as simple as just changing the startup location of the window. What is going on down here? What are you doing to me, Visual Studio? What window do you think you've undocked on me? There, put that back. I know you think you're doing something, but rebuild succeeded. I'm a little not trusting my errors window at the moment. Let's get you. Come on, come on. You can compile. I know. Compiling is so hard when I've changed all your dependencies. I know you get very, very confused. Normally Visual Studio figures itself out. It's just, oh, and it probably doesn't help. I think I have my MS build settings set to really, really verbose. In general, it's best to turn it down because I found that it slows down my building time when you have your output window spitting out that level of detail. But occasionally if you've got build problems, that's the easiest way to debug them. So working through those. Something else that I'm probably going to start doing is dealing with a lot of these warnings, because I would love to also turn on warnings as errors inside of the project, because most of the time when I see one of those warnings, it is a legitimate problem that we need to address. So some of these I'm okay with ignoring, such as the obsolete methods on palette helper. But a lot of the warnings are like unused field or malformed XML comment strings. So things like that we probably should just clean up. Okay, so there's that. There's that. A little less concerned. A little less concerned. This is a unit test project. Don't care. Unit test project. Don't care. Oh dear heavens. 176 errors. What the heck? That's a little bit of a lot. But yet the output window, I think, shows 3 succeeded. So I am not going to trust my output window for that error count for now. Okay, so more importantly, I am looking at what is wrong with the designer. So let's see, there's still an issue loading material design things default.xaml. So I think, and this could be another somewhat fault of my own, in that I really like ReSharper. And the ReSharper IntelliSense overrides the default Visual Studio IntelliSense. So it's not always apparent to me when these designer issues occur. So I think if I set this to IntelliSense only, dear heavens, this is almost a worthless level. So let's jump into the defaults.xaml real quick, because this is usually where I would expect to see issues showing up. Maybe I need to test this on a machine without ReSharper. That might be the next step. I've got access to other machines that are cleaner versions of Visual Studio. I might just set one of those up and clone the library and see how this works. Because specifically, let's see, what did he reference? Listbox.xaml lines 170 and 171 where width and height are set. So let's go listbox XAML. Let's go down here, 170, 171. So set target type, pack icon, width and height. So this is just setting an override on it. I would hope that after these changes everything would flow nicely. Maybe I need to circle back to this on a clean machine, because I would expect the fact that this is defaulting back to no longer, or since this is no longer a deriving from a generic class, that this should now work. It's a nice thought, but doesn't seem to be the case. So I'm going to abandon this, and I will come back to this at a different point, because I don't think this machine is in a good setup, and I don't think it's worthwhile everybody's time watching me uninstall ReSharper just to try and change this. So, so is it Amro 045? Did you want to review any of your pull requests? I know I saw you in the chat. If people are online, I am happy to go through and kind of review these in person, as it were, and just get these guys merged. So this one here, I believe, because I briefly looked at this before, and I think because this is just recreating on the password box what was previously done on the text box, though this condition is different. I might just check this out and take a look at it. It looks like it's probably fine, but let's just double check a few things here real quick. So pull request 1350. So back over to the Kraken, and let's see, collapse up my remotes, pull request 1350, and check out develop. Yeah, sure. I need to clean up all of my branch sprawl at some point. I've got way too many of them going. Okay. So remove extra margin from text box and password box. So those are the two changes there, and changes in preview. Thank you for going through and posting this image, by the way. It's always helpful when I see stuff like this showing the visual change, because sometimes just looking at the code changes, it's not always apparent exactly what was changed or what the intent was behind it. So something like this is much more helpful. Let's see, because this is actually in relationship to this bug here. Just make sure that I have this ready at my fingertips. Let's see here. Should this one be closed? I don't think this issue is supposed to be closed right now. Let's see, what happened here? Did we merge part of the pull request and then that closed the issue, perhaps? So let's see, because ultimately this is the setup for the bug. So let's just grab this real quick. Text box, and then ultimately the same changes for the password box. I think I'm less concerned about that and more interested in just firing up the demo and looking. Because from this I can pretty much tell, oh boy, that is tiny font. Let's fix that. Be big. There we go. That's a little better. So let's see. File view, please. It's a little kinder to me. There needs to be a quick jump into the diff view. I think we'll just jump back. So let that guy compile and run despite the fact that he thinks that he's failing. I think Visual Studio just needs to be restarted every so often. So just quickly go over these changes real quick. This does look simple. So has filled text view of true and is floating false. Okay, so no floating hint, and it is the filled text view. Adjust the margin and adjust the hint margin. Okay, that makes sense. Let's see here. I assume this is a similar multi-trigger down here, because I think what's subtly, well, what is here? So multi-data true and floating false. 183, 182, 70. I'm guessing there must be a subtle change where this is switching. Why is Yeah, there you go, GitHub. Show me more context. This trigger looks remarkably similar in both places. Is there a reason this trigger looks duplicated over? I mean, it'll end up effectively not doing anything because the latter trigger will override the former one. But I guess I'm wondering what's the point of this former trigger here. 183 conditions has field text box is true and floating is false. Has outline text field true. And is floating false. Got it. That's the condition. Okay. So this is for both the outline and the field text box. When there is no floating hint, adjust the margins for both the hint and the content host. Okay. So I assume same thing here. If it's the filled text box and no floating hint, change the same margins. Outline text box and no floating hint, change the margins. Okay. I am up to speed now. So let's go and take a look at some of these guys. So I believe if we go and look at fields, so there is the floating hint there, outline text field, but all of these have floating hints, and really that's the fundamental problem, is this extra height should go away when these things turn off. So let's go and just toggle those real quick. And I think as far as I'm concerned, as soon as I turn those floating hints off, if I see that space go away, this is probably good enough and can be merged in. So it seems fairly straightforward. Let's see here, filled text. Let's see here. So let's see, text box, hint assist. Where is? So let's do this. Material design, hint assist is floating false. Do the magic of Xaml edit and continue. Which one did I just change? Let's see. Should have been field text field. Wondering if I just need to relaunch. Sometimes Xaml edit and continue is not as robust as one would hope. But I should be able to check that and verify. Just verify that that looks like the right XAML. Floating hint to box max width. Yeah, that looks like the same XAML. And then the same thing here is floating false. Is floating false. Did any of you guys fix? No. So we're just going to relaunch. Just going to relaunch and make sure this works. Because I would expect that going through now without those floating hints, that clicking in should kill all of that extra space and it should just work. Go, Visual Studio. I know, compiling is hard. You can do it though. You can do it. Okay. Let's see where you're going. Okay, so let's just test this guy here. Well, that's looking very promising already. So that looks good. That looks good. interesting. I need to fix that bug. And that looks good. Perfect. I think this pull request looks wonderful. So we're going to go here, jump up here, and jump back to the conversation. And let's see here. This is going with the 3.0 release, so we'll milestone it there. Great work. And squash merge. And confirm squash and merge. In we go. Perfect. One more pull request down. And again, I do appreciate all of the help that you've done on these. This has been great work on pulling all of these guys in. So let's see. Where do we want to go next? Let's actually just look at the milestone real fast and see what else, because I've started to add things into it. So if you see me put one of your pull requests or an issue in a particular milestone, all that means is that's me committing to look at it. I'm not committing it to actually go out the door until I actually get around to doing it. So let's see how many of these old ones are here. So this one is probably, this is an old one from Magnus that should probably get addressed. I've just been putting it off because I don't want to deal with it. Because ultimately it boils down to an issue with the way WPF handles font files and embedded font files and how to deal with it. Yeah. And I believe his his first suggestion is write a wiki page about it. I think this is probably needs to, I should do this regardless. And then letting the library solve it. I think we can probably bring in part of this as well. Part of the reason for dragging my feet is the font files, I believe, need to be updated for the material design too. Because I believe there's a subtle change to the Roberto stuff. So should probably come back and take that. Oh, no problem on accepting that pull request. It was good work. I appreciate all of the contributions. I know you've actually put in quite a few recently, and I appreciate the help. Again, if you've got a pull request that you're hoping to have me review and get merged, if you're on the stream, just let me know, and I'm happy to give priority to whoever's sitting on the stream, because I'd much rather work with people that are here and watching rather than just me picking on things. So trying to see if there's anything in here, because this typography update is going to go along with this one here. Let's take a look at trying to get some of these old ones that have kind of sat around and plagued the library for a while. All right, this is let's see. So this is actually bringing in a lot of changes, because this brings in helper text, and this is actually one that is probably worth spending a little time going through. So I believe, if I recall correctly, he actually linked these off to the appropriate material design docs, if I'm not mistaken. Trying to remember exactly where these went. Let's see. That guy there. That guy there. And so some of these we might just need to review and make sure that these line up. But there are several features in the material design spec. I know I've seen a lot of questions from people over the last year of, does the library support this or should it? The short version is if it's in the material design specification and the library doesn't support it, probably the biggest reason for it not supporting it is I haven't gotten around to it yet. And I am happy to take pull requests, and especially things like this where I know that there are features in here that we just haven't implemented. I am perfectly happy to look at and take pull requests for these types of things. And if I recall correctly, so this is specifically this guy here, trailing icon 5, leading icon optional, trailing icon optional. Yeah, so this is ultimately where this is driving to. Let's see, input text, assertive elements. I'm not even sure if we've got the validation indicator on the text box. I don't think quite matches this. Yeah, so there's the clear icon. So this is an old pull request, but you know what? While we're looking at it, let's go and see about pulling this in, because this is another one of those outstanding old ones. Yeah, this guy's going to need to get rebased on top of it. But let's first of all, let's see, 927. So yeah, this is really old. Let's jump and grab it real quick. 927. Not the oldest pull request we have open. Not the oldest. Mine is the oldest. And I might end up abandoning this one. Every time I look at it, I'm less happy with my hack for it. And so I think I may end up just abandoning that solution altogether. I think it just needs a newer, better solution. What are you squawking about here? Switch branches. Let's see. One conflict prevents changes. Why are you showing outstanding changes? Oh, right. Because I modified the demo app. So I did it. Okay. I understand. Thank you, Git, for protecting me from myself. You say no. It seems like you really, really want to do this. Come on. Check out branch. There you go. Okay. So we are now back in time to March 23rd of last year. Ooh, boy. Okay. So yeah. Yeah, there's probably a few changes that have gone into the library since then. I think we will probably look at getting this guy merged and potentially updated to match. I think everything that he did. I don't think this portion of the specification changed when they went to Material Design 2. But I'm sure that the demo app, we may just end up abandoning some of the demo app changes here and just rebasing on top of the latest and then fixing them. Text field, suffix text, helper text. Is that still the terminology here? Let's see, because I thought I saw that up here on the anatomy. Let's see, error message, input text, cursor. So leading icon, label text, input text. So what they're calling label text is what we have labeled as hint text. So 7 helper text is expected to show up along the bottom. Interesting. Okay. Okay. Seems I'm going to just close you two, so I don't really feel like waiting or feel like opening you. Okay, well, let's launch this and take a look at at least how it looked and worked in the old one. And then we'll see about doing a rebase onto latest master. Because this would be a nice set of little improvements to go ahead and bring forward. We'll just keep looking through this real quick while I'm waiting for that to build and launch. So demo app, clear button visibility handler. So what is this doing? It's a multi-value converter, all true. Okay. So it checks everything in an array. If they're Boolean values, so got it. So if it finds any false value, it sets this and done. We can probably clean this up with a link statement because this will always iterate the entire collection, even if it finds a false one. And normally once you get this guy set to false, you can break out of this for each. You don't need to keep iterating. But that's not really a big deal. Some attached properties here inside of hint assist for that helper text property. Great. Adding the converter, and these are those types of changes that I know are going to cause conflicts because in the CS proj we no longer need to explicitly add every C# file. Excuse me. The new CS proj format will just automatically soak up all the CS files that it finds, which is great. It means a nice clean CS proj file, but it also means file conflicts for all of these old pull requests. Let's see, which one is this on? Text field assist has clear button. Set clear handler. Let's see, so what is this? What is this going here? So has clear button, type of bool, callback, could be a text box or a password box. Okay. If it's loaded, set clear handler, otherwise set a callback. Not horribly concerned with this leaking delegates. Still might be worth cleaning that guy up just to make sure that it doesn't. Would this leak a delegate? Because this is implicitly new loaded event handler of this static method, but a static method doesn't capture an instance, so it's should be fine. Let's see, so control value on set clear handler, get has clear button, so it grabs it there. Okay. Find it by the template name. And then if it has routed event handler, set current value on the text box, set current value on the combo box, because these guys technically have opposites, and or on the password box, clear the password, because password box, the password property is not a dependency property. This can be cleaned up a little bit now with the new C#7 syntax with pattern matching, so you don't have to do the double cast. Not a big deal. Let's see. So depending on whether we're attaching or detaching, we either add or remove the handler. This I don't think works. I don't think this properly removes the handler. We'll double check, but this is creating a new routed event handler, so this is effectively a new delegate. Delegate subtraction is not going to work in this case because this is effectively create a new instance and then remove that new instance from the list of click handler delegates. So I don't believe the detach here is actually going to work appropriately, but we can fix that. that is something we can do. Let's see, suffix text, great, adds that through. Converter, adds in a not converter. Let's see, width, so where are we at here? So this is in the combo box template. Basically just, let's see, what is this doing? Bringing in font, hint opacity, suffix text. Got it, so suffix text is expected to land where? I'm wondering if suffix text, that's still in here somewhere. Oh, hey. Not quite what I wanted, but thank you. Prefix and suffix text. Got it. So currency symbol, text prefix, unit of mass, suffix. Got it. So suffix text ends over here. So got it. So ultimately this is just taking the text block, putting it on that side, and either showing or hiding it. Got it. And then this is adding a pack icon inside of a button and setting it to the closed circle. I do wonder if perhaps allowing this icon to be modified might be helpful as well. Not sure how much that matters, so probably leave that for a future pull request. Let's see, canvas, opacity, hint opacity. What is this doing? Text block, binding actual width. So this is the helper text. Oh, I gotcha. So this is what goes down underneath. Little curious why the use of a canvas here. I understand that canvas is one of the faster layout containers, but I'm not entirely sure. Oh, are you done already? I'm not entirely sure it's necessary here, but we'll look. This is probably the let's see, blah 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 blah. So a lot of that stuff. So let's go do a packet restore real quick. This is given all of the changes that have gone on in here. We may end up just having to kick Visual Studio and restart this guy. Yeah. So it's probably very unhappy due to the fact that show me the Xaml is an MS build task, and so when you have Visual Studio running and you've done a compile, the MS build process stays running and therefore holds on to these DLLs, which can sometimes make packet restores and NuGet restores fall over. So the simple solution is just shut down Visual Studio and then rerun. So this is once again the same change there. Keyboard navigation, tab navigation, local. I might have to check this. I don't recall the exact definition of what this is going to do, but I think this actually keeps the tab navigation inside of the text box, which I don't think is what we want. I understand being able to tab around inside of the controls inside of the text box, but I definitely want to allow the tab to jump out for each of those. But this is a little bit of, should have turned off white space changes. And this just brings in the same closing and lineup bits to the text box. Okay, so it's basically the same changes all across the board. Worst case scenario, I think rebasing this should not be too difficult. What did it show? Like 4 or 5 conflicts? I think that's what this guy showed. so few conflicts, but I don't know if those will be that difficult to resolve. Okay, let's fire this guy up. Normally I would be quitting in about 10 minutes, but I kind of want to get this guy merged in, especially knowing that I'm going to be off for a couple weeks. So assuming my caffeine level holds out, I'm going to keep going until I actually get all of this stuff done. So I think having a couple of these in and then hopefully give people a chance to play with them. I will, so over the next few weeks, I will have limited internet access, so I will try to be online and answering questions. Don't worry, I am going to come back, but if things kind of stall for a couple weeks, that is why. Let's set the selected item background color opacity. Let's see. So I think your library needs a listbox assist to set the selected item background color opacity. I want to create this as a pull request, but can't build because I don't have VS 2017. You mean 2019, I assume? Yeah. So something you can do, if you don't want to include it as part of the pull request, is you can go and turn off. So let me back up. So if you want to go and bring in an old CS proj and just include all of the files in it, you're welcome to do so. Please don't include that new CS proj as part of it. There's not a lot of changes that have gone into the library that should break on older versions of Visual Studio yet. But I will warn you, a lot of the newer code is starting to take advantage of C# 7 features. And so you might start to run into issues if you're using an older version of Visual Studio. That effectively means an older version of the C# compiler, which means that you can't use the newer C# syntax, which will quickly become a problem. If you're able, VS 2019 Community Edition is free, and you can pull it down, especially for like open source projects like this, and it should work just fine as far as being able to get everything up and running, if that helps you. But yeah, I'd happily take a look at a pull request for being able to control those. I know that there's a lot of areas where the library just doesn't expose a lot of configuration properties. And usually the only reason for not exposing various brushes or properties is simply no one's gotten around to it yet. So if you would like to submit a pull request for it, I'd happily take a look at it. I am curious because I think on that particular case, I may have done a workaround for it. Let me just take a look. Let's see. List box colors. So I think depending on yeah, so that is exactly the problem. So the background color is the foreground color with an opacity applied to it. So this workaround will let you set the color, but the template is still going to control the opacity that gets set. So if you're interested, that's where that example is. But this is sort of a hacky workaround. So yeah, if you would like to submit a pull request adding an extra attached property for that, I would happily take a look at it. Okay, so let's jump back here real quick. And let's see. So, should run now. Fingers crossed. Let's see where this guy is. Where you're going to end up. Oh, come on. This is... I might just rebase this just to stop fighting with it. You're quickly going to become my next rebase target. fact that that error window is so far off base is not helpful at all. NU12012 package non-generic supports, yeah, yada yada yada. I suspect we're going to probably run into a case here not too long where the library is going to have to stop supporting .NET 4.5. I will check the end of life that Microsoft has for .NET 4.5, but if we haven't already reached it, we're probably getting close. But I think we're probably going to need to update to like either 4.5.2 or 4.6. But don't worry, there will be warning before any drastic changes like that occur. Largely because those changes aren't as simple as just changing the target framework in the project. They also require going through and changing all of the NuGet packages as well. So, but I suspect with some of this stuff, hopefully some of this target framework problems start to get mitigated with the .NET Core, because I suspect most things will start moving that direction. Okay, now that we're finally up and running. So I believe, so this has got suffix text. Let's just take a look at these guys. So suffix text has clear button true. So if I click it, it goes away. Clear button disappears. What happens when I get to that suffix text? Oh, sweet. So it knows to offset that for the suffix. Nice, nice. Helper text longer than air. Field is required. Oh, sweet. And it actually, it knows how to handle that. Insert your comment here. Cool. So this is the helper text underneath. At least 8 characters, has clear button true. So let's just type something in. It does look like this. Maybe it's just me. Let's see. Is it Control Shift? I can't remember. Where's my magnifier? Boom. It does look like this. Maybe it's just me. No, I guess that's fine. It is rounded. Okay. Okay, well, it looks like a good pull request. I think it just really needs some rebase love onto the latest master and get it done. So I am going to close Visual Studio in the interest of having it not fight with Get Crackin' here in a moment. We're going to see about doing a rebase and then a little bit of cleanup. So rebase improves text fields onto master. And away we go. Come on. I know, there's so much to do, so much to do. Come on, Get cracking. I realize I am asking you to rebase a commit that's like a year and a half old. There's only been a few changes to the library in the last 18 months. There are merge conflicts. What a shock. Let's jump up here. Okay, so merge conflict number 1. I suspect there will probably be a few. So, let's see, is this the new? So with rebase it doesn't always convert over. This is the new one. So, I think what we're going to blindly do, because if I remember correctly, let's just check this guy out. The changes here to the CS projes were just in relation to adding the new converters, which means I should be able to omit them just fine Yeah, and not have to worry about it. So I think we take master exclusively and ignore the change here. Should be fine. These changes are going to be a little more complex to deal with. So has clear button true. Whew. So in the interest of preserving this, I'm trying to decide if that's the appropriate default that we want. Well, in the interest of rebase, I'm going to keep it there. This default may need to change. I'm not sure that having that default to true is what we want to do. Though, if we are going to keep a breaking change like this, a 3.0 release is a great time to bring it in. So I may post out a couple issues. I know before I've posted things asking for feedback from people on what they would prefer the API to be. There is an outstanding issue labeled 3.0 release breaking changes. So I've basically listed off all of the breaking changes that I see coming in the library. And so if people have strong opinions about what breaking changes you want to see versus not, please comment there. I do take all of that into consideration. I try not to just break people's code without good reason. Okay, so what is going on here? So we have visual state groups that got added. It's the control template switched to text box base. Let's see here. This we might have to just manually do a little bit of merging, because this has got all the border stuff. So let's take a quick look. Let's take a quick gander at all of these. So collapse, 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 this guy. So we already dealt with the converter changes. There's the setter on line 25. Just back up here a little ways. Let's see here. Let's see, in keyboard navigation. So we haven't gotten to that commit yet. Okay. Let's see, what else? So this does put in, let's see, where is this grid? Grid column definitions. So inside of the border grid, text field grid, this guy got a couple columns, and then that's a white space change. Here, let's go to the top and let's turn off white space changes real quick. Let's see. Hide white space. Not really interested in those at the moment. So I'm just going to assume we're going to have to clean some of this stuff up, because some of these merges are not going to merge very cleanly, and I probably just need to go back through these files afterwards just to make sure that they all get cleaned up appropriately. Okay, so there's that. This adds a couple columns. It adds a stack panel with the text block for suffix and the clear button, all inside of the main border. Okay, so those are the key changes here. Let's see here. Let's jump down, and this is the problem of all of these guys. So I want to bring most of this. I think. See if I can find the corresponding text field border. So I want to grab all of these guys. I then want to grab this grid. Oh boy, this is going to be a heck of a merge. Okay, so let's just start doing this. So there. So, I wonder if there's a way to, can I like shift click? No, and get all of these. It's going to make me click each individual line. Well, that's just awesome. Get cracking. I would love to be able to do multiple lines in here. Or I could control, shift, bring all of those down, and have it pick up all of those. That would be nice. Get cracking. That would be nice. Okay, so let's keep going down because we want to get all the way until we get to that grid, because that grid is where the first set of changes actually needs to occur. I'm not sure how well this is going to line up afterwards, but I think it will work. So let's bring this in, because here's the text field border. There, grid. Okay, now stop and go back to this side. So this is where the first set of changes needs to occur, where column definitions need to come in next. So grid column definitions go in there. Great. And then I think, where's the next set of changes? So column definitions go in there, and then we can take everything right up until it gets to, let's see, part content host, and then after the content host there's a stack panel that needs to be brought in with all of its contents, and that's the end of the changes. Okay, so from here just keep going until we get past the content host, and then we go and grab the stack panel and merge it in. I think there's the content host with the scroll viewer, so I believe we just grab this guy. So all the way down there, then we stop, come back up here. So let's see, scroll viewer content host, let's see, he has this smart hint, and then clear button goes after the smart hint. So we're going to take the smart hint stuff here. I'm guessing that stack panel must come in a future commit. If I was smart, actually, I'm thinking I should have, yeah, let's abort this rebase real quick. So another simple trick that can be done is, before doing all of this work, we're going to squash all of these commits together. That way, because when you rebase, it effectively replays each of these commits one by one, and I don't really care about that. Ultimately, I'm just looking to take the whole set of changes as a group. Let's see here. So delete stash, delete, and then take me back. Take me back. Where are you? Okay, so if we take these 4 commits, yeah, because this is where they branched off, we're just going to do this. We are going to squash these 4 into one, create a brand new commit. Great. And then we will rebase this commit onto master. That way our rebase only has to deal with the sum total rather than individual items. So this should make this a little easier to look at. So let's see, we added a hint foreground property, which conflicts with the stuff that he added. So we just really need to take both. There's that, there's that. Just make sure the end result looks fine. Helper text, brushes. Great. As long as both of those attached properties make it in, that's what counts. Okay, CSproj. I believe this is where we take master wholesale because we don't want to include all of these things anymore. Easy. Okay. And this will go back to our text box bit. So there and there. Bring in all the converters. And then let's jump down to the next one. So this is effectively the same problem that we did before, but rather than dealing with having to do it multiple times, we'll only have to do it once. So I believe this is going to be the same thing of just include, include, include all the way down. Didn't put those out of order, did it? It did. So note to self, I need to be careful with this. Let's see. Let's cancel out and try this again. Text box. Oh shoot! Saved my changes. Great. Okay. Let's back all these out, and I gotta apparently make sure I click these one at a time because it's smart enough to be helpful and add them in the order that I click them in, rather than in relationship to their original order. So this is the same thing. We want to work our way down until we reach that grid inside of the main border, and then bring in the column definitions for both of those. And then I think if we can get that guy going, this should get us really, really close. I'll be tickled to death if this rebase just works and everything and the feature still works just fine once we get through, but I'm not horribly hopeful. These types of complex merges usually result in some amount of fixing that needs to occur at the end. Let's see, so there's that guy, and we are in the grid down on 95 is where we're headed to. Come on. Come on. Come on. Come on. I'm wondering if this might be faster to edit outside of a visual merge editor, but not sure. Being able to see this and effectively have a visual three-way merge is incredibly valuable to me. Okay, so once again, we're going to work our way down until after the end of the text field border. Now I'm confused. So where did, so this grid was text field grid. Is that the same one that we added this into? Text field grid. So this is not what we want, because this guy down here is the wrong text field grid. So we want to back up and take these four back out, because this grid has been pushed down a level. Right. Okay, so let's text field grid. So this is the grid we want. There, 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 there. Text field grid. You are the one who I want to add column definitions to. Let's back this guy back up, and let's see here. So text field grid. You are the one that I want. that guy goes there. Now that we've got that in place, I believe we just need the scroll viewer and the smart hint, and then we pick up this extra stack panel. So for the scroll viewer and smart hint, we are once again going to take everything that was done on master for now, pick these guys up, so many lines. Gotta love these rainbow merges. And keeps that guy going. There's the smart hint ending. Just make sure we get to the end of this guy here. And then, so from the smart hint, this is where we want to pick up this stack panel, because this ultimately contains the suffix text block with all of its features in it. And because this is sitting outside of the scroll content, that's what keeps the suffix visible, even when the text content exceeds the width of the text box. Okay, there, 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 there ends the stack panel. And then I believe we pick up grid, border, border, and the rest of this I believe we just take from master all the way, no, because we've got this canvas vertical alignment. So let's see what happened here. So after the underline, we want to pick up this canvas on top of it. Okay, so we need to work our way down so that that can get picked up. And again, I'm not sure if that canvas is necessary. It seems like that should be possible to push that. Did that just do that out of order on me? Line X1. No, so we're fine so far. So underline there, but before we hit the end of the grid, we're going to go canvas, text block, and then go end grid, end border, end grid. Okay, hopefully that works. And then combo box. I'm guessing probably a lot of the same things, though maybe a little bit less. So visibility, I assume those are the same, and the only difference is this closing tag on the end. So I think we take visibility and background, because this guy was closing the underline as well, and then this guy wants to insert in the middle canvas, this guy here, close that. I think that works. That looks like valid Xaml to me. Save on the combo box, close. Okay, one more conflict. I'm thinking I may end up quitting after getting this guy rebased. I don't think I'm going to end up merging this pull request tonight, just because I'd like to be able to spend time testing it. And my caffeine level is quickly dropping, and I don't know if I'm going to have the mental capacity to keep going. Okay, so another ugly merge here. So once again, I think I want to look back over here at the, so let's go ahead and collapse this guy down. So specifically, this is now the password box that we're looking at. So a couple converters, but once again, I've got these column definitions that get added, They get added inside of the grid that is just inside of the border. And then inside of that there is a button and a pack icon. I am a little curious why the text box had a stack panel for these and password box doesn't. And then once again the canvas at the end. Okay, so similar changes, though I expected to see a stack panel on top of this, because on the text box, when we look at these guys down here, the text block, because this has suffix text, which is why it needs it. Got it. That's why the stack panel doesn't exist, because suffix text doesn't make a lot of sense on a password box. Got it. Okay. So once again, we are going to just start picking up all of these changes one by one, all the way down until this guy gets... I do wish there was a better way of grabbing groups or separating these, because GetKraken has a nice little checkbox, but when you need to merge groups of stuff, it is a bit slow. It would be nice. Maybe if somebody actually knows a little more about GetKraken than myself, finding some keystroke to make this process a little bit quicker. Okay, so this, let's see, border. So the main border that was previously called border had a grid inside of it, and that's what was getting added to. Let's see. So there's the border, and there's the grid. So that's the grid we need to add the column definitions to. So we're just going to keep going all the way down. Let's see what... It'd be great if most of this works. Like I said, I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to get this merged. And then I think I will trying to decide if I probably shouldn't force push it. I might throw this up on a separate branch, just if anybody wants to play with it. So hold on, I think that's one line too many. I think I picked up the scroll viewer when I didn't want it. Yeah, one line too many. So take the scroll viewer off for the moment. Go back up here and let's pick up these lines. So I want to grab you, you, and you. Now I want to pick up my scroll viewer. Now that I've got those, grab that all the way through. Because I think all of these files are minimum going to need formatting done to them. Simply because the indentation level I can already see has been changed between when this was originally done and now. Okay, so where are we headed? So after the smart hint, that's where the clear button comes into play. So right about here at the end of this. Okay. Then we want to start picking up the clear button changes all through here. Icon, close button. Then I believe from here we just take the rest of this wholesale out the door. I think all of this just works. Again, I think I'm gonna probably think I'll create a new branch off of here and push this work so that I don't accidentally lose it. But then I suspect what will happen is I will, oh boy, so hold on. So before they had the grid closed, the border closed, and then the line and the underline were outside of that. Let's see here, so what's going on? So now we have this border here, line, underline. I think this is where this guy needs to go in next. There's the line, dashed line, there's the line, underline, and then I think we pick up this canvas to go in right here. Because that canvas comes in and then it closes the parent grid. Believe that's correct. So save, and that should fix all merge conflicts. Okay, come on, figure yourself out, get cracking. We need to finish this rebase. Here we go. Rebase successful. Okay, so I'm going to create a branch here. Rebase of, and then this was an old one, 927. So rebase of 927. So put that there, and then this way I'll push this branch up. That way none of this work is lost. And if anybody wants to play with it and test it, I would happily accept any sort of feedback or issues that come from this. So this way we get everything fixed and brought back together, and everything goes well. So I think with that I am probably going to say goodnight and check out for now. I will be online and available all through this week. I don't actually fly out for my trip until next Sunday, so hopefully there will be more work, assuming I can get time to get all of this done and get more of this stuff moved in and get this 3.0 release chugging forward. So again, if people have stuff that they want to see or pull requests that they'd like to see get merged and worked on, jump on the stream. I'm always happy to work through stuff and pull requests and issues or questions that people may have. So with that, I will say happy coding and wish everybody good night.